There is no road to the lost city of Minanbé. That is not a figure of speech. To reach it, archaeologists had to cut through 5 kilometers of dense Mexican jungle so vehicles could move forward. Then the machines could go no farther. The team continued for another 6 kilometers on foot, carrying equipment beneath a canopy that hid almost everything above them. At the end of that journey, the forest opened around shapes that should not have been there. Stone platforms, carved monuments, 14 altars, and a temple pyramid rising more than 13 meters above the ground. The ruins covered about 15 hectares inside the Calakmul Biosphere Reserve in Campeche. There were no modern roads, no tourist paths, and, most unusually, no clear signs that looters had reached the site before the archaeologists. The city had remained hidden so completely that its new name was chosen for the reason it survived: Minanbé. In Yucatec Maya, the name means roughly, "there is no road." But the absence of a road is only the beginning of the mystery, because among the monuments was a damaged stone carving that appears to show a ruler holding a knife during a decapitation. Other monuments were found broken, possibly on purpose, and the city seems to have reached its height between the years 600 and 900, during the same centuries when the nearby kingdom of Calakmul became one of the greatest powers of the Maya world. For more than 1,000 years, the jungle protected Minanbé. Now that archaeologists have finally entered it, the question is not only who built this city, it is what happened there before the forest closed over it. If forgotten places returning from beneath the earth are why you are here, subscribe and turn on notifications. The story began long before anyone reached the ruins on foot. 13 years earlier, an aircraft flew above this part of southeastern Mexico, carrying a laser scanning system known as LiDAR. To the human eye, the land below appeared to be an unbroken roof of trees. But LiDAR does not depend on ordinary photographs. It sends enormous numbers of laser pulses toward the ground and measures the light that returns. Most pulses strike leaves and branches. Some pass through small openings in the canopy and reach the earth below. When those measurements are combined, computers can remove much of the vegetation from the model. Hills become visible. Terraces appear. Straight edges emerge from beneath the forest. And in a landscape where nature usually creates irregular forms, repeated lines and raised platforms can reveal human construction. The first scans showed that something large was hidden north of Calakmul, but seeing shapes on a digital map is not the same as discovering a city. A mound may be natural. A straight line may be an error. A platform cannot be dated from the air. Every structure has to be reached, measured, photographed, and compared with objects found on the ground. For years, the shapes remained inside the data. The city had been detected, but it had not truly been entered. When the expedition finally reached Minanbé, the digital shapes became something much larger. The main monument was a temple pyramid, more than 13 meters high. After centuries of rain, roots, falling branches and soil, it no longer looked like a clean stone pyramid. It looked like a wooded hill. Trees rose from its surface. Roots entered the masonry. Leaves covered stairways and fallen blocks. But beneath that living layer was a planned structure built by human hands. Its design showed features connected with the Rio Bec architectural style, known from the Maya lowlands of southern Campeche. That style is often recognized by dramatic temple-like buildings and tall tower forms that could make a structure appear even more powerful. The buildings were not simply shelters, they were statements. They transformed stone into an image of sacred height, authority, and control. At Minanbé, the pyramid would have dominated the settlement. Anyone entering the city would have seen it above the surrounding buildings. From its upper levels, rulers or priests could have looked across plazas filled with people. Ceremonies may have taken place below. Offerings may have been placed on the altars. But no surviving account tells us exactly what happened there. The architecture gives us the stage. The people and their words are mostly gone. Around the city, archaeologists recorded 14 altars. An altar in a Maya city could be more than a table for offerings. It could mark a sacred place, preserve a political event, or form part of a public ceremony. Some were connected with upright carved stones known as stelae. Together, altars and stelae could turn an open plaza into a record of power. A ruler could be shown in elaborate clothing. A date could preserve a victory, accession, ritual, or alliance. A captive might appear beneath the ruler's feet. The message was not private. It was made for an audience. Minanbé had several carved monuments, but the most disturbing is now called Stela 1. Time has damaged its surface. Rain has softened the carving. Parts are difficult to read, yet one scene can still be recognized. A ruler appears, with an object resembling a knife. Beside him is an image interpreted as a decapitation. It is an extraordinary scene, but it must be described carefully. The carving does not tell us the victim's identity. It does not prove that every ceremony at Minanbé involved human sacrifice. And erosion prevents scholars from seeing every detail with certainty. But violent imagery in Maya political art was rarely meaningless. It could show punishment, warfare, the defeat of an enemy, or a ritual act intended to display the ruler's authority over life, death, and the supernatural world. The monument raises a question the city cannot yet answer. Was this an event that happened at Minanbé? Was it a victory brought back from somewhere else? Or was it a symbolic scene designed to make the ruler appear more powerful than any ordinary person? The blade survives in stone. The story around it does not. Dating evidence gives the city a clearer place in time. The inscriptions, pottery, architecture, and visible dates suggest that Minanbé reached its height during the late Classic period, roughly between 600 and 900. These were centuries of extraordinary Maya achievement. Cities across the lowlands built pyramids, palaces, causeways, reservoirs, and public squares. Rulers recorded dynasties in stone. Scribes developed complex histories using one of the most advanced writing systems in the ancient Americas. Astronomers followed cycles of the sun, moon, planets, and eclipses. Merchants moved valuable materials across long distances. But this was also a divided world. The Maya were not ruled by one emperor. They lived among competing kingdoms. Cities formed alliances, fought wars, captured nobles, and struggled for control of roots and smaller communities. Minanbé stood within the wider region influenced by Calakmul. Calakmul was one of the largest cities of the Maya world and the center of a powerful political network. Its rulers competed with other great kingdoms, especially Tikal, for influence across the lowlands. Minanbé may have been connected to that system. Its architecture, monuments, and dates place it inside the same political age. But archaeologists have not yet shown exactly what relationship existed between the two cities. Minanbé may have been a dependent center. It may have controlled its own surrounding territory. Its rulers may have served Calakmul, resisted it, or changed sides as power shifted. A city only 15 hectares across could still matter. It could collect food and tribute, control water or movement through the forest, host ceremonies, support elite families, and connect scattered communities to a larger kingdom. The 14 altars suggest a place where public ritual carried unusual importance. The carved monuments suggest rulers wanted their actions remembered. Yet something happened to that memory. Several monuments were found broken into pieces. At first, damage might seem easy to explain. 1,000 years beneath a tropical forest can destroy almost anything. Roots push stones apart. Water enters cracks. Trees fall. Heat and moisture weaken surfaces. But archaeologists believe some monuments at Minanbé may have been altered intentionally by people who occupied the area later. They may no longer have shared the beliefs of those who raised them. That possibility changes the discovery. The city was not simply abandoned one day and frozen exactly as it had been. Later, people may have returned. They may have seen the old rulers carved in stone. They may have rejected their symbols. A face could be damaged. A text could be broken. A monument could be pulled down and reused. Destroying an image can be a way of destroying authority. If the old dynasty had fallen, its monuments might have become dangerous reminders. If new beliefs appeared, the carved rulers could have seemed powerless, offensive, or false. But the broken stones could also have resulted from ordinary reuse or collapse. Intent is difficult to prove after so many centuries. The fragments tell us that the city changed. They do not yet tell us who changed it. This is also where the word untouched needs to be corrected. Minanbé is remarkably well preserved because archaeologists found no evidence of modern looting. That is rare and important. Across the Maya region, thieves have cut trenches through pyramids, broken into tombs, removed carved stones, and sold objects without recording where they came from. When that happens, the object may survive, but its history is destroyed. At Minanbé, the absence of looting means structures and artifacts remain closer to their original archaeological context. But the city is not untouched by time. Buildings collapsed, carvings eroded. Vegetation covered the stones. Later inhabitants may have altered monuments. And archaeologists have only begun to understand what lies beneath the surface. The discovery is not a complete city waiting exactly as its last residents left it. It is something more valuable, a site whose evidence has not been violently torn apart in modern times. That gives researchers a chance to reconstruct the city carefully. Ceramics can reveal when different areas were used. Inscriptions may identify rulers or outside alliances. Building phases can show whether the city grew slowly or changed during a sudden period of wealth. Altars may reveal how plazas were organized. The broken monuments may preserve traces of political change. And excavations around the pyramid could show what earlier structures were buried inside it. The greatest mystery is why Minanbé disappeared. The dates place its peak near the period when many major Maya centers in the southern lowlands experienced severe political decline. During the 9th century, rulers stopped raising monuments in many cities. Construction slowed. Elite dynasties vanished from the record. Populations moved. The causes were not identical everywhere. Evidence from the wider Maya world points to overlapping pressures, including warfare, political instability, drought, environmental strain, and the collapse of systems that connected rulers to their people. But Minanbé cannot simply be given the same ending as every other city. It may have declined earlier. It may have survived in a smaller form. People may have returned after the ruling system had disappeared. Only excavation can establish the sequence. For now, the last chapter remains hidden beneath fallen stone and roots. That uncertainty is what makes the city important. Minanbé is not another proof that the Maya mysteriously vanished. Maya people did not vanish. Their descendants live across Mexico and Central America today. What disappeared at Minanbé was a particular city, a ruling order, and the public world built around its monuments. The forest did not erase an entire civilization. It covered one place where that civilization changed. For more than 1,000 years, the pyramid stood beneath the canopy. Rain crossed its steps. Trees grew from its walls. Animals moved through plazas, where crowds may once have gathered. The carved ruler on Stela 1 remained with his knife raised, while the name of the person beside him faded. Then laser pulses passed between the leaves. A hidden shape appeared on a computer screen. Years later, archaeologists followed that shape into a part of the jungle with no road. They found a city protected by the very isolation that caused it to be forgotten. But Minanbé has not given up its full story. Its rulers are not yet known. Its political loyalties remain uncertain. The meaning of its broken monuments is still debated. And beneath the 13-meter pyramid may be earlier buildings that no one has entered for centuries. The jungle kept the city safe. Now every stone has to be read before the forest closes over it again. The next investigation is waiting on screen now.